of the game is you lose. It is the middle of June, June 15th, 2026, at 7:16 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. How is everybody doing? I have had an incredibly strange day. What they call it, Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events. There we go. Anyhow, that's the website. That's the code. BDayGirl 10% off. So it's been made. Why does that? All right. It's been made very clear by the gremlins that I guess they carry out the whims of the demonic powers that be or something. I don't get it, but I made a couple little goofy, stupid, silly short videos to promote the coupon code on my various hot sauce accounts and posted them up on YouTube, no problems. Okay. I went to go post them on Instagram, and I had made the videos on the computer, so I was going to the computer rather than the phone to upload them because they're big files. I don't want to have to try to put them on my phone and then put them up. Why? Because it's right here, right? Well, since I didn't want to put them on my account that I was logged into, I wanted to put them on the Awesome Hot Sauce account. I switched them. I uploaded the video. And I went to switch back. And then some point in there, they're asking me for a password that I don't have. So I tried to do recover. It wouldn't let me. And then it glitched out. And now we have no Instagram. I can't get on my laptop. As this was happening, I had my phone. And the whole entire screen, not just the glass, what do you call it, protector, but the whole thing itself had been raising up for some reason. I must have dropped it at one other time, and it was raised up, so it was past the little lip that the case has, like the little ridge. And I just set it down like on the table, and there was a pen there, blew it up. So that means there would be an issue, but I could work around all that cracking. But no, the entire screen is non-responsive. So the only way I could possibly, and I don't even know if this is possible, to retrieve getting back on Instagram would be go through the phone, because that's how I was, all those accounts were set up. So maybe they're making me do that in order to verify or validate. The amount of securities are so stupid, because I have the information and it's telling me it's wrong. It's saved and they're telling me it's wrong. So I go to recovery, forgot password, so I can get a link to go on. And I did that to 2 accounts, and that closed me out of all of them. So the security levels on these things are so stupid that they lock the people that own the accounts out of the accounts. And in the process, before I was doing this, I was putting stuff on a TikTok that I just made, because I hate TikTok, just for, let's post up stuff for the hot sauce business, and it'll kind of work in a dual fashion as like a UGC portfolio, because I'm actually promoting my own products. So that could be used as, hey, can this person make videos for other products? Whatever. First video, no problem, but no views either on TikTok of all places. Second video, no problem. Also no views. No nothing. Third video, community guideline strike. For talking about my creatine? What? So go to try to delete that account because I'm mad about it, and it won't let me delete it. It makes you jump through a bunch of hoops. It tells you have to request a download. I don't give a fuck about any of this. I just want to delete the account. I can't do it. So completely useless. Doesn't show your stuff around. I know people who jump on TikTok and their first video sees things. You don't have to you don't have to post in successive order, like time and again, wasting your effort simply to build a theme for TikTok to start. That's not true. That's only true when they already have flagged your IP or flagged you or know your account, whatever it is, right? So TikTok speaks crap, obviously. Instagram, I use that for the show all the time. Gone. So there we are. That's what we're doing today. We're doing just to let everybody know, I guess, because that's what else am I gonna do? All right. So if you want to, since it's been made very clear in whatever this place is, this realm that we live in, that I'm not allowed to use the tools that are at everybody else's disposal to get the word out on things, especially when it comes to something as important as like my own business, I can't do. Then I guess I have to ask other people to share my stuff around. If you can access my Instagram, cool. Let me know, because I can't. So that's that. Let me show you what happens. And hold on. Recovering? What are you recovering? What is the problem? Now what's the problem? What is recovering? Which one is that? Oh, for fuck's sake. Are we not even on? Hold on a second. There's more bullshit happening. And I guess it's not this one, so I don't care as much. This one is the one that matters. Let's make sure this one's playing. And I guess it's not this. Okay, cool. It's also got audio. What's up, Bushmaster? All right, let me pull this out. So yeah, all the simple little things, being proactive, you know. Now my phone doesn't work, and I had yet to get the order sent to me. He said he was going to send me the wholesale order list, and now he can't. That's the only way he contacts me is through my phone. I didn't mean to do it. I can't even. Whatever. There it is. So there is that. I'm guessing maybe it's this one. Let's see. So there is that. So that one's working. So what's the other issue? Why is it saying recovering? What other ones are we missing? Is it Rumble itself? Let's find out. I'm not allowed. It's a little behind, huh? Okay, so we're good. I'm not sure which one is recovering. Party? I don't care about that. Kick? I could care less. Kick. It's Kick. Why is Kick doing that? I guess it has something to do with my settings. I messed around with the settings for video recording, not for streaming. Yeah, streaming is still everything is the recording was changed. And now it's locked because it's currently on, which doesn't make sense if it's just the recording part. So Kick is a piece of shit too. All right, well, whatever. Here we are. Even Party is doing it, but Kick can't. What a fucking... I don't get it anymore. So we don't have Instagram. It's funny in the sense that, like, you know, I guess I use it that much that it matters. But also, it's just like, yeah, it's useful because I don't watch TV. And now I don't have a phone. I can't listen to shit. I can't read anything on the elliptical. Like this has been the day. Trying to do something to be more productive went the opposite direction and ended up costing me like hundreds of dollars because the phone's busted. Hooray. You'll forgive me if I think about that for a moment. Oh, good. Gypsy Crusader's alive. Good days. All right, so let's move on. Let's do this.
Freedom status documents.
Let's go to... Not that one. I don't want that one. Actually, you know what I want to do, though? I want to see if there's anything new. Nope. 27 days ago. Not exactly the most prolific person when it comes to uploading. At least not in Odyssey. Let's check their YouTube channel. Ah, that's sad. Dr. Glidden set out 2 new videos today. If you're not following him on Rumble, I mean on it might be on Rumble, but I got the messages on what do you call it? YouTube. Yeah, 13 days ago. So yeah, here's go. The truth about Ebola. This one's pretty interesting. It's a little bit long. That's not what I'm looking for. I don't care about that. So yeah, and then there's that other weird thing with Brave not letting me log into Odyssey over there. So it's like I can kind of use both, but I can't use one or the other. Good times. Yeah. I don't want that. So tell me again. It's a little goofy. It's intended to be goofy. It's supposed to be goofy. It's supposed to be silly and grab your attention and be memorable. It's not intended to be serious at all. So you tell me what you think is so awful about this video, please. Besides me in character pretending to be kind of an asshole, but that's just a joke. That's part of the humor, right? I'm not sure how that translates into community guideline strike on any place, or why they would take me off of Instagram. Because somebody said in the Reddit thing is that you violated something and then it glitched out when you tried to get back on. I'm like, I don't think that was the case. I think it just didn't like the fact that I was logging in and logging out of stuff from my PC, which is stupid. It's stupid if I have all the information I'm supposed to have. I've never been one to bone smash, but I have gotten into several fights because I'm a man. It's a joke. And when men want to looks max, they go to the gym and they use creatine, HCl. You can find mine at Semperfry, LLC.com. And from now until July 2nd, you can use code BDayGirl for 10% off. Why BDayGirl? Because if you're looks maxing, you're probably a woman. Fight the ugly. That's it. That's not that bad. Let's see what the problem is with that. Except for me being a dork, that's it. And then there's the other one. If you're like me, you're tired of seeing so many fat and ugly people. That's why I provide creatine HCl, a clean source supplement at Semperfry, LLC.com. And now until my daughter's birthday, you can use code BDayGirl for 10% off. That's Semperfry, LLC.com. Fight the ugly. I understand it's goofy. I understand it's retarded, and that's kind of the point. The point is, be memorable. So that was the whole spiel there. But that got me. I don't know what it did. In the process of making stupid videos to try to be funny, I ended up losing my Instagram and my fucking phone today. Not exactly something that one would expect. So this Vital Force one came out, and I shared this one. This one was really good. And there was another one that came out after that about his book that was only like 1 minute and 41 seconds long. And I saw one here that I wanted to Not that one. There's one that I wanted to share with you guys. Definitely not that one. The vitamin K one, if you're expecting parent, that one is really important. So everybody focuses on the Hep B shot, but they should not be giving shots at all, ever, for any reason whatsoever. I have that one up here. Let's see this real quick while I go grab something.
In a glass vial. She announced that it was time for my newborn son to have a vitamin K injection. I informed her that the injection would not be necessary and was met with a very concerned look on her face. She said that newborns are at risk of bleeding, including hemorrhages, that can result in permanent brain damage or death. Furthermore, the injection was a safe and effective way to prevent bleeding. Once again, I declined the offer and reassured her that my baby would be fine. In this video, I'll explain why I made that choice and what all parents need to know about vitamin K injections in newborns. Before I get into the main part of this presentation, I need to mention some important caveats. This presentation is focused on newborns being given vitamin K supplementation, typically in the form of an intramuscular injection, as it is claimed that it improves outcomes, saves lives, and comes with no risk. In other words, the routine administration of the injections is an alleged prophylactic measure to all newborns. Please bear in mind, there may be medical emergencies in which it is suggested that you or a loved one is given a vitamin K injection. Those circumstances are in a different category and need to be considered on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I'd be very cautious of that.
Another related complication caused by the medical system is early umbilical cord clamping after birth. Although not the focus of this video, we will...
So that was in the long list of things that we had notarized and made them sign off on a birthing plan or birth plan for our daughter. No, delayed cut of cord, skin on skin contact, no vitamin K, no crap that they rub in their eyes that stings. None of this nonsense that's unnecessary. All these things because they're trying to outthink and outsmart nature, and people have been being born in this world for God knows how long, but yet now all of a sudden the allopathic demons who have been trained to be smug about everything and narrow-minded and short-sighted and do everything wrong in defiance of your vital force and life, they're going to try to outsmart nature and everything else and do harm. So you got to avoid that. All the stupid shit that they try to do, it's not for your benefit. The more frail and weak you leave, the better they'll benefit from it in the days to come.
Say that early cord clamping is a dangerous intervention and can compromise both the newborn's blood and their subsequent health. On to the main part of this presentation, and let's start with the typical fear-based vitamin K narrative that is pushed by the medical establishment.
It's been the standard of care since the 1960s. In the first few hours of life, babies get an injection of vitamin K. It's critical for all of us, helping blood clot and bones form.
For newborn babies, it doesn't cross the placenta very well, so they are born relatively deficient in vitamin K.
So the only way newborns can get vitamin K is through an injection, but a growing number of parents are unknowingly
Do you believe, unknowingly, this is all propaganda, do you honestly think that any of this holds any water? First of all, vitamin K isn't a vitamin. Second of all, it's absolutely nonsensical, mentally ill thinking that these smug little women that are saying this in this video, it's in complete atheistic defiance of anything that, like, what gives light to your eyes? What makes your body move? And why, as Dr. Glidden even mentioned today, do you decay the moment that light leaves your eyes? That's the thing that they're denying even exists. That's insanity and it's evil. And that doesn't matter how you frame that, it's evil.
Out of it.
Vitamin K seems to be getting lumped in with other types of shots.
Because it's an injection, bypassing everything that is intended to weed out contaminants, poisons, and things that don't belong there. Every time you bypass that, you're running a massive risk of shock to your system. And when you're a brand newborn, and this is the assumption that it's just whatever that bullshit they call vitamin C is in there and not something else. And again, if you allow them to poke you with one thing, whatever they want you to have inside you, you're going to get it. It's not like they have any, they're such integral people that there wouldn't be other things that they would sneak into every single shot that they, can get away with sticking in you. Absolutely not something that you should trust at all. You can call it whatever you will. It's just a spell. It's just a freaking parlor trick to label. I can label anything. I can take a vat of poison and label it milk. It doesn't make it milk.
Usually when parents are referring to vaccines. And so with this increased rise of vaccine refusal, we're seeing accidental increase.
Vaccine refusal. See, even the verbiage makes me very irritated. Look at the mocking. Yeah. The monarch here. Isn't that something? Karen Cassis. Traitor to mankind. Nationwide Children's Hospital. She's a killer. She's a killer. That's what she is. She's a poisoner and a killer. And a smug one at that. Blind, cult following piece of shit.
Rise of vitamin K refusal as well.
And the results can be devastating. Dr. Karen Cassis treated a 10-week-old at Nationwide Children's Hospital with very subtle symptoms. He was fussier than normal and had small flecks of blood in his diaper.
We noticed the baby was really pale, and we did some blood work and found out that the baby was actually bleeding internally into its brain.
All because he didn't get a vitamin K shot at birth.
Really? Not because of the way he was delivered? Roughly? Handled roughly? Couldn't have been the doctors because they can do no wrong. Couldn't have been a malnourished mother during pregnancy. They can do no wrong because there's no thought to nutrients and nutrition ever, except or sometimes during pregnancy they tell you to take all the synthetic crap that's not good for you. What's it going to take for people to wake up to this? The reason why they have to have spots on TV and talk about this is because they demand compliance. It's not about your child's health or yours. It's about compliance. Just do what the cult says. Don't ask questions.
Similar to 4 others in Tennessee. Cassis is calling on parents to make sure their babies get the shot and healthcare providers to find out up front if they didn't.
Babies can present with such vague symptoms.
Did you catch that? You know what that means? Do you know that brief little notify them if they didn't? Social workers, CPS, ripping away your child. That's what that meant. So that they can poison them accordingly and then call you unfit parents and steal your child and put it into the system. That's how evil this is. Oh, you don't want us to poison your children? We'll just take them then.
Unless emergency providers were aware that this was happening, they might forget to ask and they might go down the wrong diagnostic workup.
Luckily, in the case at Nationwide Children's, a vitamin K shot quickly cured the patient, but doctors say getting the shot in the first place could have prevented a near tragedy. At Nationwide Children's Hospital, this is Clark Powell reporting.
I hope by the end of this video that you will appreciate the reckless fear-mongering and inappropriate advice that appeared in this Nationwide Children's Hospital advert. Unfortunately, the misinformation campaigns have been heavily propagated in the literature, so when we ask an internet browser and its AI software about vitamin K at birth, a typical response draws on the mainstream sources and sounds like this. Babies are born with low levels of vitamin K because only minimal amounts cross the placenta from the mother, and their gut lacks the bacteria needed to produce it. Breast milk contains low levels of vitamin K, and although formula has added vitamin K, newborns still have low levels for several days. Without sufficient vitamin K, babies are at risk of developing vitamin K deficiency bleeding, VKDB, a rare but serious condition that can cause bleeding in the brain, leading to...
So every child without a vitamin K shot is going to bleed internally, is what they're saying. Gee, that's funny. How did mankind survive this long if that's true?
brain
And it's
damage
not a vitamin.
or death. VKDB can occur in the early, classic, or late onset periods up to 6 months of age. To prevent VKDB, health authorities recommend that all newborns receive a vitamin K supplement shortly after birth. The most effective method is a single intramuscular injection of vitamin K, typically administered within 6 hours of birth. This injection provides long-lasting protection and is especially recommended for premature or unwell babies, those with feeding difficulties, or those born via assisted delivery. The vitamin K injection has been used safely for over 60 years with no evidence of harm, including no proven link to childhood cancer. When I was trained in allopathic medicine and started work as a doctor, this was a story that we generally accepted and believed. But as the disclaimer reads at the end of the AI-generated answer, we need to verify critical facts. By the time I gave birth to my third child, I had done my own fact-checking and rejected the vitamin K injection outright. Let me explain why. There is a lot to dissect with the AI-generated response, and while it can be shown to be misleading, it also introduces most of the key aspects of this issue. We are informed that vitamin K deficiency bleeding is a rare but serious condition. It certainly can be serious, but an important caveat here is that the condition is rare. However, when we consult the CDC webpage about vitamin K deficiency bleeding, it states that early and classical VKDB are more common, occurring in 1 in 60 to 1 in 250 newborns, although the risk is much higher for early VKDB among those infants whose mothers used certain medications during the pregnancy. 1 in 60 would not be very rare, and the CDC provides no citations that can be checked. To clarify the definitions here, early bleeding is defined as that which occurs in the first 24 hours after birth and is usually a result of pharmaceuticals that the mother has taken. It is not helped by the vitamin K injection, so should not be considered as part of this conversation. Thus, the CDC's page is misleading because the vast majority of babies referred to must have the so-called classical form, that is, occurring from 2 days to 1 week after birth. Of these, most would have minor symptoms such as bruising or only blood test, quote, abnormalities. So the CDC information could inappropriately scare people as they have conflated more common trivial conditions with rare, life-threatening ones. The dangerous condition of what is termed late onset bleeding occurs from 1 week to 6 months after birth. It is associated with bleeding in the brain in about 50% of cases and comes with high fatality rates. But this condition is extremely rare. Indeed, when we see an actual published study, like this West German one between 1980 and 1990, it states that the incidence of late onset bleeding in babies not given vitamin K was 5.13 per 100,000 births. Similarly, an Australian study between 1993 and 2017 looked at all forms of so-called vitamin K deficiency bleeding and found an overall incidence of 0.84 per 100,000 live births. Now, this second study included all children, regardless of whether they received vitamin K or not, but again confirmed the very rare incidence. So when the CDC states that bleeding affects up to 1 in 60 newborns, it will almost certainly convince most parents that their child could be at risk of significant illness or even death. However, if someone was warning you about a 0.005% chance of some specific and serious event happening to your child, you would rightfully be skeptical. You would be much wiser to pay attention to vaccines, aluminium-laced milk formula, accidents, poisoning, drowning, asthma, and obesity as being far more significant threats to your child's health and life. However, vitamin K promoters might counter this and say, well, what's a single shot at birth if it could save your child's life? There are many problems with this claim, and the Australian experience is useful to appreciate why. The study concluded that 6 deaths were reported, all from intracranial hemorrhage in infants with late VKDB. While nobody would downplay the tragedy of any death, 6 deaths over a 25-year period in a country the size of Australia is not a lot, and is an average of 1 death every 4 years. To put it in perspective, this is a country that has around 1,200 road traffic deaths each year, and even 32 deaths related to animals each year. The next sentence in the Australian study states that of the 6 deaths, 3 of these infants were delivered at home, were not given vitamin K due to parental refusal, and were exclusively breastfed. They appear to be portraying these things negatively, which is perhaps not surprising, as the Australian Department of Health funded the paper with support by the medical establishment. However, it means that half the deaths were infants who did receive vitamin K injections. Indeed, the paper then states, the remaining 3 were delivered in hospital and received intramuscular prophylaxis. There are further problems with the study in that it was observational in nature, so it could only raise a hypothesis about vitamin K injections rather than test the hypothesis that they are beneficial. In the study, it reads as if home birth and parental refusal of the injection are risks, but that is misleading for a start. Refusal of the injection does not create a separate independent variable when analysing whether the baby got the injection or not. Furthermore, parental refusal and home birth tell us nothing about all the other factors that determine the health of a mother and her baby. Pregnant women who take drugs, including antibiotics, and those with malabsorption problems or very poor diets are at particular risk in this domain. So it is obvious that a wide range of problems in the mother can permeate as problems in the baby.
What's that they said? Poor nutrition causes problems? Like all problems? Develop and, manifest in multiple different ways depending on the types of deficiencies? Wow, that's interesting. So if you don't want to run those risks, you pay very close attention to the 90 essential nutrients with a great emphasis on the minerals. And if you're eating for 2 now, maybe double that up. Can't really have too many minerals.
Remember that our AI friend said that vitamin K supplementation is, quote, especially recommended for premature or unwell babies, those with feeding difficulties, or those born via assisted delivery. In reality, there is no evidence that
A C-section doesn't go through the vaginal canal and comes out the side or through the, you know what I mean. So that's an issue too, because that very process is what I think they're trying to emulate with the putting the stinging shit in the kid's eyes, which is really, you're receiving a bunch of what they call antibiotics, which is not the correct terminology for that, but the whole process nature has under control, and when you try to augment it, benefits from that natural process are lost.
Routine administration of vitamin K is going to save any lives overall.
Keep in
mind, they cannot claim
I can't even watch people injecting infants like that. You have to be some sort of like detached sick ghoul to think that, to be that sure of that process, to have never even considered scrutinizing it, and then to just go right ahead and take something that's innocent and helpless and then inject it with something. All this completely fraudulent medical science doesn't pay any attention to weight and size. Everything is very universal, very assembly line in nature. We didn't. No, I'm not even going to talk about that because I don't want that to happen. But like my dog is very tiny, and we were very concerned about them when they were, if they were going to anesthetize or whatever, they'd kill a dog. Because if they wanted to do, let's say, if they want to do a neutering, which I don't really like that idea either, but if they were going to neuter the dog, they might put it out and it might not come back because it's such a tiny dog. These people are not they're not superhuman. They're not scientists. All they're doing is regurgitating what they've learned in school. And what they learned in school is very jaded. And it's not for the benefit of people or animals or infants. But it's never questioned. It's beaten into their heads. And then you're just an idiot for not complying with it or being okay with them doing it to your loved ones. Not to mention the fact, if I have to remind everybody this, but we are basically prisoners and valuable on paper to a corporation. And sometimes when, corporate doesn't need something anymore, they'll get rid of it. They'll liquidate.
The 3 babies who died without vitamin K would have been saved if they had received the injection. However, this is usually implied in most of the mainstream literature on this topic. As a little segue, when we were doctors in the system, the only time we saw vitamin K injections possibly save anyone was in iatrogenic cases. That is, cases...
Iatrogenesis, which is illness or injury brought on by doctors. It's a plague of doctor intervention.
Caused by doctors themselves.
Right.
Typically, this involved older patients, not children, having their blood thinned excessively by a pharmaceutical such as warfarin. Sometimes it was simply because someone on blood thinners was simultaneously given a course of antibiotics or steroids. And these
Again, they don't pay any attention to how things interact. They kill patients constantly with prescriptions that are taken appropriately, according to the guidance by the doctors in the pharmacy themselves.
cases, the person is at risk of a catastrophic bleed, and the vitamin K injection can rapidly reverse the situation. Clearly, this is not something that can be translated to the injections being useful as a prophylactic in newborns.
Nope.
The reason I bring this up is that it does leave room for the investigation of vitamin K injections in cases where the medical system has already intervened in the pregnancy with pharmaceuticals, or there is serious medical compromise. However, healthy women have no reason to be considering a vitamin K injection for their newborn.
There you go.
In fact, seemingly most unhealthy women do not need to consider it either, given the extremely rare incidence of serious bleeding problems in babies. The incidence is so rare that it's essentially impossible to test the hypothesis with an interventional study, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the last thing I want to cover in the 25-year Australian study is the statement that no adverse effects following vitamin K administration were reported during the study period. This is a spurious remark, as the study was report-based only and did not involve long-term follow-up. The next paper of interest is from the Cochrane collaboration, and it was published in the year 2000. If we read the author's conclusions, they state that a single dose, 1 milligram of intramuscular vitamin K after birth is effective in the prevention of classic hemorrhagic disease of the newborn. However, when we get into the full report, there is an important admission in the form of there have been several trials done on this topic. Practically, all of them measured surrogate outcomes. In other words, they did not record actual illness or death in the children, but instead looked at blood test results. This is highly problematic as parents are interested in the health and survival of their child, not a lab result. The authors explain that the surrogate markers are used because of, quote, the low incidence of vitamin K deficiency bleeding in neonates and infants. Indeed, as we saw in the epidemiological studies, the incidence is extremely low. That is why the authors have to concede hemorrhagic disease of the newborn is rare, and to acquire significant results, the sample size of a randomized controlled trial would have to be extremely large, up to 500,000 participants, making the likelihood of such a trial ever being done seem extremely remote. In summarizing the available data, the authors concluded, we retrieved 2 types of trial from the search. 2 trials dealt with clinical outcomes, but mostly the trials dealt with surrogate biochemical outcomes. Overall, methodological quality was poor. Randomization procedures were often not described or inappropriate, and loss to follow-up was high. It was also admitted that a subsequent search for studies that relate these laboratory measurements to subsequent clinical outcomes produced no relevant studies. In summary, there is no good evidence for the administration of vitamin K, and quote, improved surrogate blood test results cannot be used as evidence either. It's not looking good for the vitamin K proponents, but have there been any advances on the Cochrane publication from 2000? Yes. In 2016, a team performed another systematic review and concluded that, given the high risk of mortality and morbidity in infants with late VKDB, it seems appropriate to administer intramuscular vitamin K prophylaxis to all neonates at birth. Despite this bold recommendation, it was admitted that this review has major limitations. First, we did not evaluate the safety of the intervention.
Okay, so it's happening now on a laptop on Chrome. I don't know if anybody else is having this Odyssey issue. We're on Odyssey right now watching a video, and yet I try to log in from the laptop and it's telling me this bullshit. It says, the password has been found in a registry of leaked passwords, HIBP database, in the quotations. I'm sorry, in parentheses. For your safety, you must reset password first. But when I go to do that, it locks me out of my other mail. So we'll see what happens now. Let's see.
Second,
just trying to get some
the
information.
Evidence for an
It's fucking
effect
crazy.
on late VKDB is available only from surveillance studies. What also caught our attention in this paper was the statement that the numbers needed to treat to prevent one additional case of major clinical bleeding in infancy due to vitamin K deficiency would be 1,275. Now that is a horrendously high number, even on their own terms, because it means that 1,275 babies need to be injected to prevent one adverse outcome. However, that figure would also be inconsistent with the rarity of this problem, and it is apparent that the authors got this number by, quote, assuming the control risk.
They won't even let me verify my identity on Instagram. This is how jacked up this is.
To be 80 per 100,000 live births. Wait a minute. That is over 10 times the incidence we saw in the earlier epidemiological studies. What they have done here is picked the incidence from poor countries where malnutrition and severe health compromise are much more common in pregnant women. In developed countries, the numbers needed to treat are going to go up to around 15,000. As I mentioned earlier, if the doctor said that they need to inject 15,000 babies in order to prevent one adverse event, parents could see what a scam this is. Keep in mind, it is not 15,000 injections to even save one life, but to prevent one serious bleeding event. But it gets worse. First, it bundles all mothers and babies into the same category, so they all receive the same intervention. This is clearly inappropriate, as the vast majority of babies are at no risk of adverse bleeding, and there are identifiable risk factors in the mother and baby for this very rare condition. Second, as the 2016 systematic review admitted, the safety of the injections has never been properly established, only inferred and assumed. So the question must be asked, for every 15,000 or even 1,275 babies that are injected, how many are being damaged by an intervention that is completely unnecessary for them? From our perspective,
All of them who get it, it doesn't matter if you don't notice it that day or not. All of them who get it are being damaged. Injections are not the way to go for any goddamn thing.
the vitamin K issue is an invention of the allopathic medical system. Most newborns are not deficient in vitamin K, as has been claimed. On the contrary, their levels are normal for that stage of life. Does it sound plausible that nature produces infinitely complex miracles like a child, but couldn't work out what to do about vitamin K? Are we supposed to
Exactly.
believe that the only way for us to solve it was the invention of vitamin K injections last century?
Had to be,
Pregnant
right?
women in reasonable health who are not taking drugs should not be scared and guilt-tripped into allowing their newborn to have a vitamin K injection. The best thing any pregnant or nursing mother can do is take care of their own health, and a large part of this is achieved through dietary choices. In this regard, the Western A. Price Foundation has some great resources, and I'll put a link in the description. As a mother, a medically trained doctor, and a professional researcher, that is why I declined a vitamin K injection into my perfectly healthy child.
It should be helpful, but it should also help you understand how that's applied to a great many other things too. Just about every one of those, well, not just about, but every shot. There's 79 of them they want to poke your child with. That's just so you can go to subpar, jaded indoctrination thing, that little thingy there, that little institution there that they call public school. So I'm not a big fan of, let's dumb them down, destroy their spirit, destroy their soul, so that they can be more malleable for this system that's going to mislead them and put them on a bad path. That sounds like a terrific idea, doesn't it? And again, forgive me for being a little off today, but I'm trying to plug holes in a boat here, financially as well. So it's everything's a kind of up in the air. Hopefully my friend gets my messages on Telegram, but I can't reach out to him. So that's an issue. And he was about to send over the wholesale order for me to get started on. So that's a problem. That's a problem. Edward Snowman, thank you very much, sir. All right, so we finally got through that one, so we can take that one down. This is the channel that I never post on. Maybe I should start throwing some stuff on here. I mean, I don't know if anybody even uses Odyssey anymore. When I want to find something that I know YouTube won't allow, I still go to Odyssey or BitChute, and I roll the dice and hope for the best, that there'll be somebody talking about it intelligently on either of those two platforms. And I usually get pleasantly surprised, or at least there's enough good information in somebody's presentation to, once I sift through a bunch of them, that I can find something good. What's great about having the Instagram is that I could do this while I'm doing other things, when I'm waking up, working out, taking a shower, all that stuff, getting ready for the day. I could just send them to my Instagrams, and I'd have a whole list of things that we could talk about in short format, which was perfect. It was perfect because it was not a long video. And now it's like, is there anything like Instagram that I can start doing that on, that has the same, oh, TikTok, you mean? No, not that. not Ellison's death trap there. I'm good. Thank you, Edward Snowman, for being a producer of the Ballbusters broadcast. It is greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. Everybody who supports the show simply by being here and going above and beyond, is all that stuff greatly appreciated, and I thank you so much for that. I'm doubly stressed this month because my daughter's birthday is the 2nd. Things were supposed to be all lined up, and a lot of things got rug pulled throughout the last couple months. And yeah, so I got a new image. I didn't like the back thing anymore. I think people are just weird anyway. It's like, if it was a fitness channel, people wouldn't say anything, but it's a different audience, right? And then you have the people that just are snarky about everything. I didn't get a whole lot of bad feedback about it, but I just understand that it wasn't fitting the subject matter, really. I do talk about fitness, but I was happy that I got in good shape, and I was proud to show it for the first time in a long time. So I just put it out there for a little bit. But yeah, now it's universally that. So now it's on here as a Spreaker too. You'll see that, and I think it's a good picture. That was something that Chat GPT had enhanced for me just before it told me that I couldn't do anything anymore. Everything was like, nope, I'm not helping you anymore today. But yeah, let's see. Let's have a look here and see how this is doing. Yeah, just like everything else. Nothing major. Everything ever since they took Spotify, and I think Spotify actually didn't just have problems with one particular piece of music, because I went through the trouble today of cutting that music out and then trying to repost it. And when you see the episodes, sometimes it takes a whole day for it to update. But I put this thing out early this morning. You can tell that it's shorter because I cut to my time just to make it a shorter video. I cut out the first hour for the most part. And 0 and 0. This one they obviously suppressed but didn't tell me. Suspicious regression. I don't know what they didn't like on that one, but that's 0 and 0. I'm just kind of really getting like frustrated and tired with all of the stupid hoops and shit. If you're not making anything off of something, what difference does it make if you use something as fair use? If you're not gaining financially at the detriment of something else, like you're not diverting funds away from the original source, what difference does it make? Because it's actually a positive when you think about things like copyright, right? For the most part, more people are seeing your stuff, and they're going to be, if they like it, drawn to your content, drawn to this or that, the other thing that you do. And if there is an analysis or a breakdown or a commentary or a reaction, that's fair use. So I don't really think it's not intelligent for a short piece of music that's playing in the background of something that's not even the full song, that other people are talking over, and then you're pausing and talking about that particular video that just happened to have that background music. Like, how retarded is it for them to strike down a video for that? It's just looking for excuses to suppress people that they've already shadow banned. It's just a way to like try to discourage you and stop you from doing what you're doing, and I'm not going to let that happen. It's just it went to a boiling point today, and I found a lot of I took a lot of issue with the way. Oh, thank you for the homosexual who downvoted this already. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Every engagement's good engagement. Let's talk about antibiotics now. This is something I tried to convey before too, because a lot of people still default to, even when they know everything about, oh, I don't like doctors, I don't trust them. But what is it that you don't trust? I mean, you're getting there, but you probably still have some holy water, some sacred things that you think that they do that you absolutely need them for, or the concepts that they present. Maybe you don't like the doctors, but you believe in their procedures and you believe in the concepts. This is where the problem lies. And I like when people say, well, you can go to the pet store or you can go to the feed store and get the animal grade or the goldfish grade or whatever antibiotics, and those will be just as good. They're not different than what people have, and you can get those in quantity and are cheaper. It's like, but the problem here is that you think that you need antibiotics. It's not so much the acquisition, it's the application. Why do you want those? Oh, it's my go bag for when shit goes down. Why would you want to poison yourself when they're not around to poison you for, why would you do it for them? Why would you poison yourself for them when they're not accessible?
When former doctors speak out and start criticizing.
Let me see if I can get one that's not as grainy. The truth about antibiotics. How many years ago was this one? You said 3 months ago? All right, cool. Let's try the YouTube. I'll get on to her. The best way to do that is, so if you don't know about this on YouTube and stuff like that, there's another little search bar here. It's not this one, it's this one. And then if they appropriately keyworded it, you'll be able to find it by that. There you go. Bing.
When former doctors speak out and start criticizing allopathic medicine, all hell breaks loose. The medical quote authority.
Yeah, but they also jumped on the bandwagon. They were the controlled opposition, like Mercola and McCullough, and a great deal of other ones that came out of retirement and out of the woodwork to say things and steal the spotlight as if they owned the material. And this is what happens all the time. People latch on to the personas and they don't even listen really closely to the message. They just want to hear it coming from particular people because it's like the game show host. Somebody with a strong personality like Dr. Artist, but then he can throw in all those other nonsense and you'll just go for it because he's established trust by pretending to go out against those guys. And he was a chiropractor, so he's not really an MD, so the MD portion of him, he didn't have those sins already. He didn't do things wrong and now repent or anything like that. He already knew stuff, right? Well, yeah, maybe that's semi-true, but also he still has the allopathic or green allopathic mindset and the fractionated nutrition mindset and the need to constantly do something over and over again for maintenance with absolutely zero attention paid to minerals and the 90 essential nutrients. Well, without the 90 essential nutrients, you do have to go chasing all these other things, and they're all Band-Aids because your body still needs the things that it needs. So, dousing with chlorine dioxide and methylene blue and, red light therapy and all this. Like, how about you just give your body what it needs and you don't eat the 12 bad foods? Do a little cardio. See how that feels. See how being active and thriving feels. Or do you want to be constantly spending money on stuff that isn't really addressing the problem? Isn't really, fulfilling your body or your vital force with what it needs in order to operate all the functions within you. And you won't know it because you're not the one consciously aware or thinking about the healing process within you all the time. You wouldn't know what to do if you did. But your vital force, your inner self does. Just give it what it needs and let it do its thing. And when it needs a little bit of assistance because there's a little missing piece of data or a corrupted piece of data, given the stresses that it encounters, that's where the homeopathic comes in, the only curative medicine out there. Let me repeat that. Homeopathic, only curative medicine out there. And you don't continue to take it. You take it till you're better, then you stop. Because at that point, that means your body knew what it needed to do and it healed itself. You keep taking it, it's no good. It doesn't do anything for you. Unlike medications and refills and prescription after prescription on top of prescription.
Have come after both myself and my husband Mark in recent years after we went public with the COVID-19 fraud. They can't refute works like Virus Mania or
right. Good book. So is Eustace Mullins' Murder by Injection. And so is, to a lesser degree, though, Dissolving Illusions. It's not something that you shouldn't read. It's just they also have the wrong idea in some instances. They may have changed. They may have seen the light since then, but they were still lending credence to a lot of things. They were saying, well, this is more of a dirty environment situation, but they still lend credence to this idea that smallpox are this thing, this pox are that thing, rather than this is your body reacting to garbage that it's, in its environment, shit that it's having to endure because of uncleanliness or contamination or toxins, poisons, you name it. And the other person, like what I was going to say, is overshadowing people. When those people came out during COVID, no one went and said, hey, there's this guy named Dr. Stefan Lanka who's been discussing this for decades. And it's kind of odd that we'd still be tricked by all this because everything he said is verifiable. And nothing that the virologist, and he was a virologist who figured out that virology is a fraud. You would think that would have been the end of it, but it's not.
Or a farewell to virology. So instead, they try gag orders and farcical prosecution attempts. We have spent years contributing to the work demonstrating that the virus model is broken, and on a wider front, the germ theory model as well. So what about antibiotics? We've all heard the challenges from the germ proponents who claim that we wouldn't dare refuse antibiotics for ourselves or our children in the case of a life-threatening illness that they call an infection. But are antibiotics really life-saving compounds, or more mythology from the pharma cartel? This is a huge topic, but let me show you a few of the greatest scientific deceptions surrounding one of the medical establishment's crown jewels.
Is she not going to read it? Let me only say that the best of all proof of the fallacy of their assertions is the fact that every attempt to elevate the germ facts of putrefaction into a germ theory of disease has miserably failed. I'll repeat that. Let me only say that the best of all proof of the fallacy of their assertions is the fact that every attempt to elevate the germ facts of putrefaction into a germ theory of disease has miserably failed. It helps to narrate these things. Ma'am. Okay. And has failed. Now, and has failed nowhere so conspicuously as when obtruded into the realms of the treatment of disease. Dr. Lawson Tate, British Medical Journal, 1887. Those are 1887 sideburns. Those are some muttons right there.
In the year 2000, while working as a first-year house surgeon, my husband Mark was on a ward round, being led by a medical consultant. An elderly patient was diagnosed with pneumonia, and the consultant advised Mark to prescribe intravenous antibiotics as per the hospital's drug protocol book. Mark picked up the medication chart, but instinctively hesitated and said to the senior doctor, "Why do we always give these?" The consultant was incredulous that such a question would come up, but Mark pressed him and asked how he knew they worked. No definitive evidence was offered, and instead the consultant emphatically stated that it was established through decades of collective wisdom and clinical experience. Not only that, but the patient's sputum could be sent to the lab to see which bacteria were present and which antibiotics killed them. Mark could see something was amiss, and another seed was planted that led to the eventual departure of both of us from the allopathic medical system. The word antibiotic derives from the Greek anti and bios, which translates to against life. That may give you some clues about the origins of this class of pharmaceutical, which is embedded in germ theory and the war against microbes. Medical students are often taught the famous story of Scottish physician Alexander Fleming, who was investigating the growth of Staphylococcus aureus bacteria on culture plates in London in 1928. One of the culture plates was left exposed while he was on holiday, and when he returned, he realised it was contaminated with a blue-green mould. He then noticed that the bacteria did not grow around the mould and surmised that a substance that killed bacteria was being secreted by the mould. Fleming called it penicillin and published his findings the following year in 1929, but his paper initially created little interest in the medical community. Dr. Howard Florey at the University of Oxford became aware of penicillin in 1939 and approached the British Medical Research Council for funding to investigate its antibacterial properties. His team received only a modest grant, but then an agent from the Rockefeller Foundation stepped in and suggested that Florey, quote, apply for foundation funding.
He looks nearly identical to the people in the movie Dark City. Let's go take a look. That'll do. There's more. Let's see if we got another one. They use your dead as vessels. That's what this dude says in one of the scenes.
The application mentioned that it may also be pointed out that the work proposed, in addition to its theoretical importance, may have practical value for therapeutic purposes. And hey presto, it was approved by the Rockefeller Foundation. In a 1989 New York Times article titled Big Money Meets Big Science, it was written that Rockefeller money helped support some of the most profoundly important advances in modern science and medicine, including the work of Niels Bohr, Enrico Fermi, Werner Heisenberg, and Hans Krebs. The development of such vital research tools as the ultracentrifuge, the electron microscope, and the 200-inch Hale telescope, and the discovery of penicillin. Well, apart from Krebs, the rest were theoretical physicists who made models like the virologists do. And as for the research tools mentioned, they haven't delivered on much that improves the lot of humanity or our well-being. So the inclusion of penicillin in there should raise suspicions. The article goes on to state that as one of the greatest contributions to the war effort, the Rockefeller Foundation supported the Oxford University researchers Howard W. Florey and Ernst Boris Chain while they struggled to transform penicillin from a petri dish curiosity to the miracle drug that saved the lives of millions, including the Allied soldiers who might otherwise have died of the virulent battlefield infection, gas gangrene. Obviously, it is not possible in this video to go through every disease that is claimed to be treated by antibiotics. However, we can go straight to the top shelf and pick one of the alleged greatest victories brought about by their use. So let's take this classic tale that has been promulgated since World War II, the alleged life-saving penicillin that saved scores of soldiers. There must be plenty of evidence for that, right? Before we get to the state of the science, I should point out that gas gangrene is a life-threatening condition, but it is not an infection by invading bacteria as the mainstream claims. If you try to find any evidence that the bacterium Clostridium perfringens can invade healthy tissue and make someone sick, you won't find it. It is a type of bacteria that is found everywhere, often in decaying vegetation, the soil, and even in our gut. In other words, a crucial part of our ecosystem rather than a pathogen. Conditions like gas gangrene are the result of devitalized muscle tissue brought about by a blocked blood supply, trauma such as gunshots, or even snake bites. The microbes will certainly start proliferating, but not until the tissue is already dying, i.e. the underlying terrain has changed. It is like a piece of meat from an animal. Once the blood supply is cut off and the tissue is deoxygenated, the microbes that are everywhere will get to work breaking it down. It doesn't matter if the tissue is still attached to living tissue. The breakdown will proceed regardless. So let's get to the evidence for antibiotics in the case.
And that's a pleomorphic microzyma sending those bacteria out to do a job that needs to be done given the conditions of said piece of meat or body. But it can be reversed if you have another signal saying, no, you need to clean that up. You need to fix that. We're still alive here.
Of gas gangrene. In 2015, the Cochrane Group performed a review titled Interventions for Treating Gas Gangrene. They looked for randomized controlled trials that compared one treatment of gas gangrene with another treatment or with no treatment, and identified 2 relevant RCTs with a total of 90 participants with gas gangrene. And the conclusion? Neither trial reported on this review's primary outcomes of quality of life and amputation and death due to gas gangrene or in adverse events. Trials that addressed other therapies such as immediate debridement, antibiotic treatment, systemic support, and other possible treatments were not available. The benefits and harms of different treatments for gas gangrene remain unclear, as the available trials do not provide high-quality evidence due to low sample numbers and a number of problems with the way the trials were conducted that can introduce bias to the results. Pretty underwhelming stuff. In fact, it means that the widespread claim that penicillin saved all those wounded soldiers has no scientific basis. If there was improvement in their outcomes, it was most likely due to surgical removal of dead tissue, awareness of hygiene, and improved practices in managing shock, such as rehydration. You can watch my video, 5 Spectacular Fails from Germ Theory, for more information on this. Regardless, in terms of the millions of lives penicillin alone is supposed to have saved, the scientific evidence is lacking. It is a case of medical mythology and pharma marketing spin. But the use of antibiotics is not set to slow down. To add to the lolly scramble, the CDC has recently suggested the use of the antibiotic doxycycline for some people when they have sex to purportedly prevent them getting infections. You can watch my videos such as What We Weren't Taught About Gonorrhea to see why entities such as this are not infections. In any case, apparently the CDC propose getting even more antibiotics into the population, even though they have, quote, wrestled with the concern that doxypep could raise the risk of bacteria developing resistance to the antibiotic. Antimicrobial resistance, another fear-based narrative being propagated on faulty premises. The story has been pushed by mainstream outlets such as The Guardian, who reported last year that antimicrobial resistance poses a significant threat to humanity, health leaders have warned. More than 1.2 million and potentially millions more died in 2019 as a direct result of antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections, according to the most comprehensive estimate to date of the global impact.
They pose as experts and authorities on a topic of which they know nothing.
Of antimicrobial resistance, AMR. They were referring to a Lancet paper with the title Global Burden of Bacterial Antimicrobial Resistance in 2019, a systematic analysis. Sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Wellcome Trust. And how did they come up with the figures? They used predictive statistical modelling to produce estimates of AMR burden for all locations.
So a fairy tale. A fairy tale. You plug in the data and you let it, you construct it to say that this is the reality of something. Now walk it out to the end based on this faulty premise. Well, the faulty premise has a faulty conclusion.
Including for locations with no data. In other words, they made it up. Not only are they using modelling estimates, but the input data itself is phony, as none of the conditions they listed have been shown to be caused by bacteria. So bacteria being resistant to the drugs is not relevant to any individual's cause of death. The paper would be pleasing to Big Pharma, though, when it concluded that it is crucial to making informed and location-specific policy decisions, particularly about infection prevention and control programs, access to essential antibiotics, and research and development of new vaccines and antibiotics.
Of course.
The pharma-sponsored germ focus results in tunnel vision, where doctors have been led to believe that killing bugs can benefit a patient. This becomes their goal rather than reversing the underlying problems that made the patient sick in the first place. Take the example I introduced at the start regarding the consultant that instructed Mark to prescribe IV antibiotics for pneumonia. In the allopathic model, the condition is said to be caused by bacteria, so a sputum sample is sent to the lab, and if certain microbes are cultured...
If there's toxins or decay, the bacteria will be there to break it down, to eat it if it's a toxin. If it's not present, then they're not in abundance. They are the cleanup crew in every case.
They take the blame. The lab then tests various antibiotics against the microbes to establish the sensitivities, or which of them kills the bacteria most effectively. The treating doctors are then
So when you get rid of the bacteria, well, then there's nothing to break down. There's nothing to eat the toxins. There's nothing to break down the bad tissue.
Guided by these results and select one or several antibiotics to give to the patient. There are so many problems with this, and for brevity, we'll list some of the main ones. Number 1, the underlying causes of the patient's pneumonia were not established, so were not treated. Number 2, the presence of bacteria in a sputum sample is not diagnostic of a disease. The microbes are bystanders that proliferate under certain conditions, and healthy people inhale them without ill effect. 3. Killing bacterial colonies on a plate.
Yeah, why don't they ever address that these bacteria are found when you're healthy as well? They cluster and they become more abundant when there's a job to do.
With antibiotics is not treating a patient. Even if the antibiotic does kill bacteria inside the person, there is no evidence that this is curative. The last point also raises an interesting question about why antibiotics may work in suppressing symptoms in some conditions.
Suppressing symptoms.
Certain skin diseases and so-called urinary tract infections spring to mind. Many antibiotics do not simply kill bacteria on petri dishes. When they are given to complex organisms such as humans, they act as anti-inflammatory agents. Dermatologists have known about this mechanism for years and have prescribed them extensively for inflammatory skin conditions and what the mainstream call autoimmune disorders. It's an area that is not well publicised, as the germ theorists prefer the antibacterial narrative. The flaws in the claims about antibiotics, such as penicillin, were already anticipated in the pre-antibiotic era. In 1887, British surgeon Lawson Tate noted that, "I have opened the abdomen in many cases packed full of tubercular matter and drained it like a common abscess and have cured the patients. The same thing has been done by Esmark, who has identified the bacillus in the orthodox German fashion. Does anyone believe that either of us removed every bacillus and every spore? I know I did not, for the tubercular masses in several of my cases kept coming out for weeks afterwards, yet the patients recovered. What I really did was to enable my patients to get rid of the dead or dying exudation on which the bacilli lived, of the decomposition of which they are probably the means and wholly the result. Apply this notion of the germ theory of disease to the facts of clinical medicine and surgery, and see how irreconcilable with the facts it is. The reason antibiotics are a scam is that they are based on the wider errors of germ theory. Microbes are not the cause of disease, although they will proliferate in certain conditions. Vitally, there is no war against them. They act precisely in accordance with nature, which is pro-life. Even if it seems unfair at times, they are part of the process that allows regeneration of more life. In calling out the fatally flawed premises of germ theory, Lawson Tate remarked that, "We do not in the least know what life is. We call it vital power and talk glibly about it, though our men of science seem to have neglected it. Pick out an amoeba and watch him. So long as his sloth-like movements go on, he is avoided by his neighbours. But his movements get feeble and very slow, and you will see a paramecium go at him. The movements cease altogether, and presently you will find him riddled with bacteria and bacilli, and soon all trace of him will be lost. Why did his enemies avoid him whilst he was alive? Why could they so easily attack him when dead? I cannot tell you, but it shows that there is an enormous difference between tissue living and tissue dead." Some of the mysteries under the microscope may never be known to us, but they do not need to be, to live in perfect health. When I reflect on
what's funny about all that is if she just knew who Deschamps was, she'd have an answer for why that is and how you can flip the switch the other way too.
time in the medical system, I saw fingers being reattached by skillful surgeons and tension pneumothoraxes being instantly relieved by chest drains. I did not see anyone that had their limbs or lives saved by antibiotics, but certainly witnessed some nasty adverse effects, including disturbed microbiomes, following even a couple of doses. Only bringing the terrain back to a vitalized state can result in cure, no matter what the condition, and this can be achieved without the pharmaceuticals.
Bam. Now, just take that into consideration. We're here to help. We are here to help. We can simply present the information. And if it's not accepted, that's okay. Karen Peterson said, "Oh, wait, whoa, look at that. VSOF, hey, how's it going?" And then even worse, they tend to misquote people and put out information that is totally wrong. That is Exactly true, sir. If you want to take a humor break and laugh for a minute about FIFA, play a 2 minute or two. Play a 2 minute or play a minute or two. I'm reading the two first. Play a minute or two of this video. I'll laugh my butt off. All right. The problem with all of our intake with food is that it is totally depleted of what we need because the soil is now barren of what we need. Exactly. That's what Dr. Glidden says, reminds everybody. It's been like that since the 30s, and it's only been more industrial farming since. And all the things that they spray on it paralyze or destroy the microbes in the soil. So that process of bringing nutrients that are whatever's left in the ground to the plant is being impaired. So the plant itself can't make it bioavailable to us, and therein lies a problem. In a natural world, without the middlemen, if you will, nature or God or whatever you want to call it, did not make life so hard to figure out or make the nutrients that life would need so hard to get that you needed supplementation. It's because we don't live in a very natural world anymore, and all of these chemicals, and it's all about intervention with the spin that it's doing something positive, doing something exactly the opposite, the inverse of what they claim, and it stacks upon one another to make it very, very detrimental to the natural go of things. And then you have to seek out things, and you have to get the nutrients, and that's why we talk about what we do here. Putrefaction. I don't think I know that term. Yeah, when things become putrid. It's you can talk about what do you call it as well? Fermentation in that process as well. Yep, because that would be something eating and breaking down. Yep, in my line of business, Mr. Tate, we gotta keep repeating the lie. Demon indeed, said VSOF. That Rockefeller had the Ozempic face before it was popular. That was from overconsumption, perhaps, of bad bloods and Nagurski. Oops, I meant too much liquid poppy seed. Karen says women have been highly conditioned to believe if they get a UTI and don't immediately start antibiotics, it'll move to the kidneys and cause death. Nettles hot sausage on a slab of mozzarella, Humzinger laden. Can't text for a bit. Haha, nice. You got the Humzinger out. That's cool. So yeah, let me go to the site real quick because I gotta go. I think I'm gonna go pick up my stepson now. Semper Fi LLC. You saw what I did there, right? You can just click on my website here. You click that, and it's a one-stop shop for. You can get in Dr. Glidden's membership site. You can use code Ballbusters for 25% off the monthly, and you get a much better deal on the annual. But it's still 25% off, but you're saving more. BB5 is the code for the Azure well supplements, the 90 essential nutrients, but you can use it on anything that's on that site. And that would be the whole food multivitamin, the Alaskan cod liver oil. This has some trace elements, some trace minerals in it. And then you scroll down until you find the Fulvic-Humic blend. This is all of your minerals. It's about 3 month and 10-day supply. And then just hit this. And IP6 Supreme with inositol is a highly absorbable magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, and inositol. And I add the core copper. And my daughter and I take that and the whole food multivitamin every day. And we've got minerals here too. And when those are gone, I will be making a purchase for one of these guys as well. That's assuming that I still live in a home at the end of this month. This has been a crazy, crazy thing. I'm sure I'll be fine. We got the wholesale order coming. It's just a matter of stress, But yeah, this until I can figure out, because the phone's cracked and I can't do anything about not having a use of a screen. I don't know if I'll be able to get. There's no way I'm going to be allowed back into Instagram because they locked me out of it for whatever reason. So the Instagram portion of this, which was a good way to get a bunch of stuff out and talk about, it's it's not available to me. I can't get it on the laptop. I can't get it over here. Let me show you what happens when I do it. I got to get out of here though. So see that's what happens. Challenge next, blah, 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 blah. This, I looked it up and it said, yeah, you're effed, basically. So there's that. Get your minerals, get healthy, jump on with Dr. Glidden. You'll get 2 extra days a week to ask him your questions and his live Q&As. He has one tomorrow, and then he'll be with us on Wednesday, and then he has one on Thursdays. All right. Make sure everybody's okay everywhere. If I can, maybe I'll pop on. I gotta make that look bigger in that little space there. If I can, I'll try to pop on again later, or I'll do something tomorrow morning, but then I gotta get working on stuff, so you might not see me. I might actually be gone for a day or so. We'll see. Hopefully back and refreshed. All right. I think it came out all right. We did a little enhancement on there. Looked kind of cool in the background. All right. Later. And VSOF, we should do a thing sometime. We talked about that. Ballbusters at Outlook. I can at least get into that. All right. Later. Thank you for showing up, everybody. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for putting up my unrelaxed state of mind today. It's greatly appreciated. The website, greatest hot sauce, and yes, creatine. Even if TikTok and Instagram don't want you to know about it, it actually works.